All right. Well, welcome everyone. I think there'll probably be more people trickling in, but we'll go ahead and get started. My name's Blythe. I'm the marketing manager for Guardian Inspection Payments, and really appreciate everybody attending this. I know you all are very busy, and so thank you for taking time out of your day to attend this webinar. Um, you know, by now, I'm sure you've heard the phrase pay it close. We've kind of been screaming it from the rooftops. And so we really wanted to do not just a webinar on the background of pay it close and how it works, but more of an informal discussion. We have two inspectors with us today that I'll introduce in a moment that are going to help with a Q&A. And just sort of, use this as an informal discussion time for any questions you might have, and we'll kind of dispel some myths and show you some exciting data on that we've pulled recently on how this is helping inspectors grow their business. And so I'll go ahead and do the introduction. So we've got four panelists on with us. Ben and Aaron are on. Most of you probably know them. They are the co-founders of Guardian, and they are in Idaho outside of Boise. Guardian's been providing payment solutions for home inspectors for over 20 years. We're really proud that we have a sole focus on home inspectors. And we've got Matthew Query with us from Freedom Home Services. Matthew owns a multi-inspection company with a team of 5. And he's got multiple locations in South Carolina, North Carolina, soon to come Indiana. And he has a strong background in residential construction, warranty, and internal quality inspections. And then we've got Joe Beller. Joe is out of Lubbock,
Hello.
Texas, and the owner of Joe Beller Real Estate Inspections. He owns a multi-inspection company with a team of 7 and has a pretty unique perspective for us today because pay it close was actually common in his area prior to us developing this product to make his life easier. So with that, we're going to go with the overview of pay it close, and I'm going to hand it over to Aaron.
Great. Thanks, Blythe. We're really excited to show you guys this. This is something that's been a long time coming. Like Blythe mentioned, we've been working with home inspectors for 2 decades. And during that time, as we offer credit card processing, we consistently would get asked from home inspectors if we have some kind of solution or any way that we can help them deal with pay at close transactions. They hate it. They hate having to deal with, the title company or what happens if the deal falls through. And that's typically what pay at close, how it works is the home inspector is involved in collecting the money from the customer or from the title company. And if the home sale falls through, they have to try and track that customer down and get payment on a house home inspection for a home they're not even buying. And it was just a real nightmare. And our answer has always been, no, we don't have a solution. But in the back of our minds, we always wanted to come up with something that would take those pain points away and really solve that problem for you. And so our pay at close solution that we have now allows inspectors, first of all, to get funded up front. You don't have to wait for the house to close. When you do the inspection and the customer goes and signs the pay at close agreement, which they can do when they check out, just like they would with a credit card, then you're paid. It's that simple. You get paid up front, and then everything that happens after that, you don't have to worry about. So it doesn't matter if the closing falls through. It doesn't matter if their backup payment option doesn't work. We handle everything with the title company. If your order changes and they add an ancillary service or they remove a service or you can't find the sewer access, so you don't do the sewer scope, all of that stuff, we deal with that. So we'll update the invoice. We'll send the invoice to the title company. We handle all of that, so you don't have to deal with any of it. So we really have made it super simple for you because you get paid up front and you don't deal with any of the headaches that traditionally you'd have to deal with. What we're most excited about, and this is where we want to focus a lot of our conversation today, is some of these statistics that we're seeing from guys who have been using pay at close for quite a while. There's a lot of numbers on here. I don't want to go over all of them. I want to just hit some of the highlights. But what we did was we took the total number of pay at close transactions from some of these inspectors who are using pay at close. We took the total number of non-pay at close transactions that they did during that same period of time, and we wanted to see how much additional revenue they would make on pay at close transactions. And this is what we came up with. On average, inspectors who are offering pay at close made an additional $96.53 on their pay at close transactions versus non-pay at close.
And we should probably clarify that that does not include the $75 for pay at close. That's a question that comes up every time.
So that's above and beyond the fee that you have to pay. So that's revenue, right? That is pure revenue above and beyond your pay at close fee. So an extra $96.53. We're averaging about a 22% adoption rate across the board. So when customers are given the option to pay with pay at close or credit card or ACH, if you have that, 22% of the time they're choosing pay at close, and that varies. It goes anywhere from 12% to 35%. This one is what is really exciting, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. But on average, inspectors are only having to raise their price by about $14 to cover the cost of pay at close. So a $14 price increase on your inspection fees offsets pay at close completely. And something just to keep in mind, that when a customer chooses to pay at close, you're not paying credit card fees. So right there, you're saving a few bucks, right? On average, $12 to $15 per inspection. So how is this happening? We know now that when the customer pays and chooses to pay at close, that they spend more money. And how is that happening? Why is that happening? And it's really simple. It's because they're much more willing to purchase your additional services when they don't have to pay for those services today. That's really what it comes down to. When you're booking your inspection with the customer and you go over, my home inspection fee is $450, my sewer scope's $320, my radon test is $100. But hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay for any of it now. You can pay for it all at closing. That immediately takes the pressure off of your customer. Now they can buy the things that they know that they should have, instead of sitting there counting the money, goes, whoa, this is adding up. This is getting to be a big number. That takes that price out of the consideration. And so it's a lot easier for them to buy those extra services. And as we all know, those ancillary services, those are really high value services for you, high margin. So those are the ones you really want to try and sell. One of the other big reasons why we think pay at close is going to be important to you as a home inspection company is your ability to market to agents, to get market share. There are definitely a large percentage of agents out there who have customers who want to do pay at close, and they have a hard time. A lot of times agents have a hard time finding an inspector who will do pay at close. So by you offering pay at close, you immediately become valuable and desirable for agents to use, because you offer something that most of your competitors don't. So as you're out there talking to your agents, letting them know that, hey, every inspection that I do, pay at close is a free service. That's a super valuable offering that you can give to your agents, and more importantly, to your competitors' agents, to try and get them to start sending business to you. And as a side note here, starting here in the next month or so, all new ISN users will be automatically enrolled in pay at close. So the floodgates are kind of opening right now, but you do have a little bit of a window where you can go out and try and get some market share before everybody else is doing this, to really set yourself apart. So really exciting numbers. This one right here, we just couldn't be more stoked to see that it's actually working the way we had hoped it worked when we designed this program. So one of the questions we get a lot is, how much does it cost? The pay at close fee is $75, but the way that you're going to offer this is free to your customers. And there's a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is consumer finance laws state that you cannot defer payment to your customer and charge them a fee unless you're licensed as a lender. None of us want to get licensed as a lender in your state. And so the best way and the easiest way to do it is just to raise your price on all of your inspections and offer pay at close for free. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we're seeing about a 22% adoption rate right now on average, and it varies, but let's just take 20% for easy math. If 20% of your customers are choosing pay at close, let's say you do 10 inspections. If you raise your price by $13 on all 10 of those inspections, you just made an extra $130 of revenue on those 10 inspections. If 2 out of those 10 inspections are pay at close, you're paying $150 in pay at close fees. And then on those 2 transactions that do pay at close, you're saving $10 on each one because you're not paying credit card fees. So you got $20 in savings. So right there, a simple $13 price increase will cover your pay at close fee if you have a 20% adoption. So really easy way to do it. And this allows you now to offer it for free, which is what's super exciting to the agents, is that this is now a free service that you can do. So a $13 price increase covers your fees. And then don't forget that you broke even on your pay at close fees by just doing a $13 price increase. That $96 of extra revenue is above and beyond that increase. So that's, again, all those extra ancillary services. You're breaking even on the pay at close fee, but you're making a ton of extra money on all your ancillary service sales. Finally, we want to just kind of show you this. We want to help you offer pay at close. So we have some custom marketing material that you can white label. So if you send us your logo, Blythe will throw it on to social media posts that you can then just cut and paste onto social media. We got flyers that you can give to your agents and your customers. So this can all be customized with your logo, and it's just an easy way to market this. And on top of the flyers and the collateral, we also have some email templates that you can use to send out to your agents, letting them know that you offer it. And even more importantly, email templates that you can use to send out to your sellers agents, the ones who aren't currently using you, to try and get them to start using you. We also have some slide decks that you can throw into if you've got a presentation deck that you use when you go to agent offices. We've got some presentation slides that you can just slip in there, put your logo on there, and present pay at close when you're doing a office presentation. So with that, that's kind of the overview of what pay at close is. You get paid up front. You don't deal with any of the hassle. We deal with all of that. Simple price increase of $13 and on average about a $96 additional revenue. So now we kind of want to open it up to you guys to ask questions and hear also from other inspectors.
Yeah, so thank you, Aaron. So what I'm going to do is start with some specific questions that we felt like would be the most asked, but just so everybody's aware, we kept this short and sweet because we really, really wanted to open this up for a Q&A. We wanted plenty of time for that. So as we go through these questions, there'll be an open Q&A afterwards, and down in the bottom of your screen, you should see the Q&A little box. Please put your questions in there. You won't have to be on camera or anything. I'll just, read them off and we'll answer them live, but I strongly urge everybody to take advantage of this. These guys are out in the field doing this. We're happy to answer any, the operational type questions, but we really want you to take advantage of asking any questions because these guys have been successful with this.
Yeah, especially to Matthew and Joe. These are inspectors who are using this every day. So what a great opportunity to pick their brains and find out what's working. So I'd love to ask this to Joe and Matthew. How are you promoting pay at close to your agents and home buyers? What advice do you have there?
Our environment was already pay at close, so we really haven't had to do a whole lot there. What we've struggled with is our own mindset of doing away with the traditional line item fee to send things to the title company. Because we knew we were going to have a hard time chasing those down. So what our strategy will be is, now that we've got everything set, to spread that cost across the board with the pay at close and the pay outside of closing, and also a little bit of education with our inspectors and how they were reimbursed. Our presentation is going to be, hey, here's our prices, here's our competitors' prices, but look, they're charging you an extra $75 more. We're not doing that. Our pay at close is free. And that's how we're going to present that.
That's awesome. That's great. Matthew, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when we first got set up, we immediately used ISN and sent out a mass email to all of our agents letting them know. Everybody kind of is in different places with their market and what's going on. Could be busy, could be not so busy, but what we do know is that clients are bypassing home inspections. They're also, waiving due diligence. They're waiving appraisals, all sorts of crazy stuff. And this is one way that we were able to kind of reel that back in and say, hey, look, home inspection is important. We know that. And now you can tell your clients that they won't need to worry about paying for any of the services up front. So even if they are purchasing a home as is, they can still, they don't have to pay for it right away. And then kind of ongoing, as we're giving out price quotes, my office is making sure to mention in our price quote that we have this service. And of course, the great partnership with ISN is that even if that's missed, when they go online to ISN to pay, they have the option to select it there. So there's multiple different touches and the ability for them to grab that. So
I think that's cool, Matthew. I'd heard that's what you were doing, and I think that's pretty common in the country where inspections are getting waived because they want their offer to look more valuable. But to get around that, to go to the agent and say, hey, even though you're waiving the inspection as a contingency, your customer still wants to know what's wrong with the house. That's still super valuable for them. So put it at closing. They don't have to pay for it now. And I think that's cool that you're still getting inspections, even though they've waived the inspection as a contingency because pay at close. That's really cool. Blythe, when do we want to go over some of the questions in the Q&A?
Well, yeah, that's, if you click, they'll keep popping up. We've got 4 on here.
Yeah.
And then so go through all those first, and then we'll open it up on the, yeah.
So biggest benefit you've had from enrolling in the program, Matthew, what about you? What's the biggest thing that you've seen so far?
Well, we have definitely picked up. I remember the first week that I sent that mass email out, we immediately got some agents that we either hadn't heard from in a while or that had never used us, or were in our list because they were maybe listing agents on our transaction side, and immediately called and said, hey, I have a client that has to use pay at close. They don't have any money. They need this pay at close program. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So that was right off the bat. And then ongoing, we've been able to promote additional ancillary services. We do radon, mold and air quality, as a couple of examples, and that's super easy to be able to upcharge that stuff because they don't have to pay for it right now, and they have latched onto that, it seems.
That's cool. What about you, Joe?
I think the biggest thing that we've seen is increase in cash flow because we're not sitting around waiting for our money to come in 45, 60 days out, which has meant that I'm able to pay my inspectors for their inspections, within the pay period. We're not going back and forth trying to figure out which ones have been paid, which ones haven't been. And then also we've seen a big increase in the amount per inspection, just because in our area, there are so many homes with water wells and septics and swimming pools that people are, I guess, feel more free to throw them on there, knowing they don't have to worry with that cost. So we've seen a huge increase in those ancillary services.
That's awesome. And while we're on that topic, Matthew, if you don't mind sharing a little bit on your statistics, we ran Matthew's numbers to find out, and Joe's, how much additional revenue you're making on pay at close transactions versus non-pay at close. What were those numbers for you, Matthew?
Yeah, when Blythe saw me at a recent conference, I couldn't believe it. It's just over 41%.
Where it was 200 and something bucks extra, wasn't it?
Yeah,
an
large,
extra
yeah.
Yeah, an extra $200 roughly in revenue on the people who choose pay at close. And again, that's above and beyond the fee. So incredible. That's super exciting. And Joe, yours was
We were
similar.
around
It was up there.
25% or something like that.
Joe's is 28% actually.
28% on Joe. Yeah. So really, truly making, not only paying for itself and breaking even, but making a significant amount of additional revenue. And how exciting is that? That you can have a product that your customer likes, that your agent likes, that makes your life easier and makes you more money all at the same time. That's kind of a rare thing out there where you get a win-win like that. How about pushback? Any pushback from home buyers? You had to increase your price to do pay at close. Any pushback or complaints from agents or home buyers because of that price increase?
None. I mean, for our company, we only increased $10. Nobody notices $10. We're getting ready to do another price increase, but no, none at all. Nothing but positive.
Great. Joe, any pushback, complaints?
Yes, we haven't seen any pushback on that at all. We've had some people that have signed for pay at close and then within a day or two decide, I'm gonna go ahead and pay for this and that kind of thing, but no pushback related directly to the small price increase.
Good.
I think that question falls into, for a couple people who've asked about charging $75 as a convenience fee or upping the price. And, it falls into that same area as to why you wouldn't want to do that. The easier that you make it for your customer to want to choose pay at close, the greater opportunity you're going to have for them to choose ancillary services, right? If the first thing you're doing is giving them a pay later option, but you have to pay for that pay later option, you've pretty well eliminated the opportunity to say, oh, and do you want to add, $300 for a sewer scope and an extra mold inspection and all of those pieces. So by just building it into the price, you're upping your opportunity for that pay later opportunity for ancillary services. So, and again, charging extra for the opportunity to pay later makes you a funding agent. So now you're breaking consumer finance laws, which is why you wouldn't want to do that.
What about agent feedback? Any feedback from your agents, positive or negative?
I think our agents here like it because they can get access to the reports a lot quicker. Once that buyer has signed off on the pay at close agreement, we upload it, they can get it without having, to call us to call the buyer, or they have to call the buyer. They just access it. And we've kind of seen an increase with a few of our agents. If they go online and order that for their buyers, they're choosing the pay at close and just moving on from there. So they know it's a good program. It gives them good access.
That's great. Matthew, any feedback?
Nothing negative. No. We've had several agents that have just been really, really thankful that they've been able to get their client the opportunity to do pay at close for one or more reasons. But it's so simple on my end. I almost feel like I'm cheating. It's like, I mean, this is an amazing service to be able to provide. And, and it's also really nice because I know that I'm helping somebody else out, in a couple different ways. One, they can get a home inspection, and two, they don't have to dip into their, maybe potentially tight cash flow that they have currently, coming out of COVID. Obviously, a lot of people still, are not working and may not have income like they used to. And so, removing that excuse has been amazing.
That's great.
Yeah,
I think that brings up a good point, that you are helping your customers when they get that sewer scope or they get the mold or whatever. That's stuff that they really should have. And a lot of times, I mean, what's the only reason they choose not to get sewer scope? because of the cost, right? That's it. If it was free, everybody would have you do sewer scope, and everybody would have you do radon, and everybody would have you do mold. That's obvious. And so, but they really do need it. Blythe's a great example of that. She bought a house a couple months ago. If I hope that's okay that I bring this up, Blythe.
Oh, go ahead. Use my example.
and just about a month or two after moving in, her sewer
Yep.
blocked up, and
Yep.
they had to dig a hole in her living room to access the pipe, slab foundation, and she had a swimming pool hole in her living room to get to that sewer pipe. It was a nightmare, and if she would have had the sewer scope up front, that would have been a non-issue. So anyway, it really is a benefit to your customers to get them to buy these ancillary services, not just a revenue producer. So it's really cool that it's one of those win-wins where your customer gets the service that they need, you get to make some extra revenue on it. Everybody wins.
There's a question around whether or not, a few questions you've come in about whether you stay paid or what happens if the deal falls through. And basically in the checkout process, we're getting a signed agreement by the customer that they've agreed to pay for their inspection at closing, and that they understand the process for what's happening. They enter in a credit card number as a backup source so that if the transaction doesn't go to closing, we have the opportunity to bill a credit card, hopefully bill a credit card. And then you do the inspection. You've done everything that needs to happen for you to be funded and stay funded has happened. So in reality, all of the pieces that we need are a part of an automated system. So for you, as long as you do the inspection, if a customer chooses pay at close, you get paid up front and you stay paid. If anything happens in that closing process, they decide not to buy the house, they can't get funding, it doesn't matter what that is, you're paid and you stay paid. And we take care of all of that. No clawbacks in any way for you.
I had a client last year, actually. It was a really large house, multi-million-dollar home. The guy ended up being literally a scammer, and obviously got every single service and fee, and wanted to do well, he didn't do pay at closing, but he basically didn't pay until after the inspection was done. And had I been able to, what I actually do now is anything that's over $1,000, I essentially say, hey, we're gonna just enroll you in that payment at close plan, because it's another degree of protection for me, because I know I'm gonna get my money, because that's a pretty big hit for a small business owner when you're taking a $1,500 hit, and some of those are subbed out. You still have to pay your 3 employees that were there. So.
And that brings up a point that we do have right now, this is for residential inspections only. We don't have it for commercial inspections or pre-listing inspections, but that is stuff that we're building and we'll hope to have available. But we do have a $2,000 cap right now on pay at close. But anything under $2,000, it's good. And eventually we will have it so that we've got a program that will, accommodate any size. One thing you brought up, Matthew, earlier, or maybe it was Joe, you'd mentioned how, oh no, yeah, it was Matthew, you'd said you had some agents after you sent that email saying, hey, I've got a customer that doesn't have the money, this pay at close is great. Like normally, that would throw off alarm bells for you, right? If you were the one that was providing the pay at close service, like that's a customer like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. But how nice is it now that you say, great, what a benefit that you can help that customer do the inspection and just breathe easy about it, knowing that it's on us to deal with it. So,
well, I'm seeing a couple of one of the, I guess, common misconceptions, increasing $10 across the board. And there was somebody else that had asked about, do I increase by $75? Ben, you kind of talked about that earlier. It's not like all of my clients do not select pay at close. So kind of like Aaron showed earlier, with the 20% deal, the cost of the $10 increase across all inspections takes the essentially the cost of my pay at close completely away. If it doesn't, I haven't noticed it because it's so small. but that $10 fee across the board. And here's the beauty of this, like in the integration with ISN, that $10 fee or whatever your fee is, like Guardian worked with me to determine you have this many transactions going on. We recommend this fee to be able to, cover your transactions. But that is added as an additional line item with ISN, and it's a hidden fee. So there's never so if you're doing a $450 home inspection in ISN, it shows up as $460. There's no additional fee line item that says, oh, you're getting $10 charge. So it's
yeah, the customer never sees that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the
So they're like,
customer
why
doesn't
didn't
see
you
that
get
fee.
closed?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's
you
amazing.
get to see it as the inspector so that you can see where you're at and see what you're charging and see if the revenue that you're charging for or the fee that you're charging for pay at close is offsetting your fees. But your customer does not see the pay at close fee. All they see is the total inspection fee of, like you said, Matthew, $460. So we got a ton of questions.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
start answering these live. Do you want to read through them, Aaron?
Yeah, let's just kind of the percentage of jobs that you're doing pack versus not pay at close. That was the first one. It really is all over the board, anywhere from 10 to 12% to 30 to 35%. So it kind of depends on how much you're promoting it, how much you talk about it when you're booking your inspections, and how common it is in your area. In Joe's area, super common. Everybody's used to pay at close. He's going to have a higher percentage adoption, but really 30 to 35% is about as high as we've seen. Same day or next day is fine. We don't care. They can choose pack at any point they're going to pay for the home inspection. They can choose pay at close. So it can be after the inspection's done. They go to pay. I might just stop sharing this screen and I'll show you what it looks like to your customer. When they go to pay, they're going to see this screen. And you can see it's pay at close or credit card or ACH if you have that. And it's as simple as I have my closing company information, then they'll fill it in. Or I don't have my closing company info, contact my agent to get it. And then it'll automatically pull in the agent's name into the agreement. So they don't have to do that. They'll put their credit card number as a backup payment and they sign. That's the entire checkout process. So when they go to pay, whenever they go to pay, this is what they're going to see and they can choose pay at close at that point. So I'll go back to the, hopefully that answers that. So this is a great question, Brent. You do an inspection for a customer, they choose pay at close or not. They decide not to buy the house. Then you do a second inspection for the next house. They decide not to buy it. You do the third inspection for the third house. Can you combine all of those into one pay at close payment? The answer is not yet. We know that's an issue and that it's relatively common, but the tool is not built for that yet. But we are going to do that. Right now, what would happen is they do that. Let's say they choose pay at close on the first one and they decide not to do it. Then we just run the credit card. And then you do the second one, they decide not to do it, we run the credit card. They do the third one, they decide to buy it, it would go to closing. So we know that's not ideal, but it just takes engineering to automate that process, and we're not there yet. So these keep moving here. Do you need to change your agreements in any way? You do not. We have a pay at close agreement that the customer signs. There's nothing that you need to do to change that. The agreement is really between us and the customer. You're just giving that as a payment option for them. If they choose that option, as soon as they sign that agreement that I showed you down the other page, it becomes a paid inspection to you, and everything after that point is between us and them. And you don't, frankly, you don't care what happens at that point. So
there's a question as to whether or not you need to be on Guardian's credit card processing. The answer would be yes. We guarantee to beat any credit card processing rates out there, but yes, you do have to be on Guardian's platform to be able to use pay at close.
And ISN.
And ISN. Yep. It only works with ISN and Guardian right now. There's a question on the payout schedule. That's a great question. Right now, we're paying out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's a manual process just because this is new. The engineering team at ISN is frantically building an automated daily batch tool. So it will batch out at the end of each day at 7 o'clock, and you'll start getting funding daily. There is a delay though, just like with any ACH payment. This isn't a direct wire transfer into your bank. It's an ACH payment into your bank, which means there's a little bit of a delay. From when you batch out on, let's say you batch out on Monday, you could expect to see the funds somewhere on Thursday. So there's a 2 to 3 day delay for you to actually get the money in your bank account. Why is better than a month? And the nice thing is, you're getting it, right? There is a delay, but it's coming. Versus standard pay at close, it could be a month and a half, and then you find out that it's not coming and you got to go collect it. So why isn't this available on pre-listing? There's a couple reasons. That's something, again, that's going to take some engineering involved, because first of all, our traditional window with pay at close is 60 days. If we don't have payment from the title company within 60 days, then we build a credit card, the backup payment option, unless they've told us that, hey, we've pushed this out to this date, then we'll push it. But typically pre-listing inspections go further than 60 days from when you do the pre-listing to when it closes. So we've got to build the program to accommodate that. And you're dealing with the seller, and there's different contracts involved with the seller having to pay at closing versus the buyer having to pay at closing. So that is stuff that we are building, but it's just not there yet. Price increase on home inspections only, or on other services. It's the price increase when we do that only goes to your inspections. So what you've labeled as an inspection will be included in the price increase. If you've got, a radon only service, that price increase does not affect that service. You also have the ability in your pay at close settings to go in and uncheck things that you don't want to have pay at close show up as a payment option. So let's say somebody calls you just to do a termite inspection. They're not selling the house. They just need to know if they've got bugs. That's not something that you'd want pay at close to show up as a payment option. So again, you can choose in your pay at close settings which inspection types you want to have pay at close show up as an option.
There's a question about whether or not ACC offers this to customers who call in to book, and that would be between you and your ACC agent as to whether or not you're offering. So if you've got pay at close turned on in your system, we would definitely think that you would want your call center rep to be promoting pay at close to up your ancillary services, but that's definitely between you and your call center.
And ACC is they're up to speed on this. So they're familiar with pay at close. They know how to pitch it, and it makes their job easier in selling your ancillary services. So if you've got ACC, I would strongly recommend you giving them carte blanche to offer pay at close, because it makes it so much easier for them to get you more revenue.
They already do such a fantastic job of increasing ancillaries. When they've got this in their tool belt, it's all access.
When we pay at close, it comes from the credit card, or does it get integrated with the closing? So it's kind of both. They're going to give us the credit card. Part of that agreement is that they give us their credit card, but that's only as a backup option. So if the closing falls through, we're going to bill their credit card. Otherwise, it's just going to closing, and the title company will issue us a check when it closes.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
Can I answer this one up here? It says for the PAC, pay at close is the cost built into the mortgage. I think I missed that part. It kind of depends, because another beautiful thing about this is I've heard often in transactions that there are seller paid closing costs that happen and aren't often known up front. Sometimes that's negotiated during a due diligence period. Potentially the the buyer gets cash in lieu of repairs, things like that. So it does though get essentially paid at closing. So the title company would issue a check. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I do know that there's some different options that allow your client to take advantage of seller paid closing costs.
Absolutely. And right now, we are obviously in a seller's market, but if it gets to the point where we're in a buyer's market and sellers start paying for closing costs, imagine what this does, pay at close does to your average ticket size when your customer doesn't have to pay for any of it. They know that the seller's paying for it. Everything that you offer, they're going to throw in the cart. And we see that sometimes. It's not happening a lot, but it is starting to happen a little bit more and more. I think the question too was if it gets rolled into the mortgage. This does not get rolled into the mortgage typically. There are some loans where the inspection fee can get rolled into the mortgage, VA loans, but for the most part, no, it doesn't. It just gets paid at closing.
There's a question about how do we handle refunds for unhappy customers after the closing?
Would be the same. If like you've been funded already, right? We got paid from the title company. So if you want to refund your customer, more power to you. We're not going to refund the customer. We paid you already. And then it would be on you if you wanted to, for some reason, offer a refund to your customer. You've already been paid. That money's in your bank. If you want to give it back to the customer, more power to you.
There's a question around canceling the pay at close transaction. So there isn't a hard cutoff time within the system, built into the system, but that is coming soon to help us with speeding up the funding process. And so that would be the evening of the inspection. There's basically a cutoff, but up until that time, if a customer changes their mind and wants to pay you with cash or credit card on site and whatnot, you will have the ability to cancel the pay at close transaction right within your ISN and accept payment in whatever form you want to before that cutoff time. Yep. If it's after that cutoff time and we were notified, then we can obviously bill the credit card and you would be funded just like a normal pay at close transaction.
Yep. I think that one is the price increase only on home inspections or on other services. I think we did that one. My inspector is curious if a buyer doesn't buy the house, who's responsible to pay that amount? So if the buyer if the deal falls through and the buyer doesn't buy the house, so it's not going to closing, it's our responsibility to collect that. The buyer still has to pay for their home inspection, right? They still did an inspection, they got the service, they agreed to pay for it. You've already been funded. They've decided not to buy the house. At that point, we'll bill their credit card as the backup payment option. But the buyer would still be the one that's paying for that. Now, what if their credit card doesn't work? Or what if for some reason we can't get that? You don't care. That's on us. We have to go find a way to collect that. We don't have a collection agency or anything like that. They're not, we're not going after their credit or their firstborn. But that's our responsibility to collect those funds. There is not a way to turn the pay at close option off or on. That's just going to be a payment option for your customer. I would strongly encourage you as a home inspector to let them know up front that pay at close is an option. Because if the first time they're seeing pay at close is when they go to pay for the inspection, at that point, they've already made their buying decision. They're probably not going to add ancillary services. They're just going to pay for it. So you're not getting near the benefit that you should be getting out of it if you haven't talked about it up front. So you really want to let them know before they're making their buying decision, before they decide what services that they're going to get from you, let them know that they don't have to pay for it now. Now you're getting the most out of it because you're getting those ancillary service sales. If you don't talk about it and you don't bring it up and they just go to pay for it and they're like, oh, cool, I can pay for it at closing, and they do, that's not going to help increase your average ticket like we want it to happen. It's going to be really important that you bring it up when they're making the buying decision.
And that's our number one goal, is to increase ticket price. We're currently working on a checkout flow to make sure that what Aaron just talked about actually happens, even if they were using an online scheduler. At any point that those pay at close is being presented in a way so the customer really knows, hey, here's a pay later option. Why wouldn't you take advantage of all of these other services? We want to take as much of that needing you to sell that out of your hands as possible. So we're working on engineering to build that into the product.
And when you guys get that built out, ISN has a great feature where clients can upgrade when they go to actually check out.
Yep.
So that's huge when that gets all shifted around. So they can see, oh, hey, I can do this pay at close. Oh, and now I've got all these ancillaries. So
that's what they're working on. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to align. They're trying to align those two things so that in the customer's mind, while they're looking at that page with the extra services that you offer, they're thinking, oh, I don't have to pay for any of this right now. That's going to be awesome. Got a question from Terry who doesn't have, asking if we don't have the payment option or use payment options in ISN. You're correct. The pay at close is not an option if you don't have credit card processing with Guardian set up in ISN. Now, that being said, our credit card processing, which we haven't spent time talking about, there's no monthly fees. And we have an option where you can pass the fees, the credit card fees, over to your customer automatically so that your bill at the end of the month is $0. So you can set it up so you're paying $0 in credit card processing fees. Your customer pays for it completely. We also have the ACH option so that you can give them a free ACH electronic option. It only costs you $2.25 versus like $15 for a credit card. And now you can tell your customer, hey, if you pay with a credit card, there's a 3.5% surcharge, but here's a free ACH option that you can use. So I would not let the fact that you don't offer payments currently in ISN keep you from doing pay at close. We've got an option that's totally free so that you can offer pay at close.
Hey, Aaron, so if I could speak to that, I'm all in on the Guardian stuff with the pay at close and the ACH and the credit card processing fees actually getting billed to the client. We've been doing it the entire year. So we're in June now, 6 months, zero pushback from clients or agents for that additional fee for a credit card. It's just kind of something we pay for nowadays. It's, if you didn't want to pay that way, great. We've got a free pay at close option, or we have a free ACH option. So there's really no reason for them to be frustrated. Most of the time they're using a credit card and they're going to get points on it. So they don't care. I've had zero people push back on that.
That's really good to hear. And we've kind of heard that same thing from everybody. We haven't had anybody come back and say, oh, my clients are upset about this. As soon as you give them another option that's just as easy to pay as credit card, they don't care. They understand. So it's a great option to do that.
And Leah's asking if that credit card fee shows up on the invoice. Yes, it's very clear to the customer that they're being charged a convenience fee. And it's all automated to the point when they choose ACH, that it removes that fee for them. They can toggle between and see the difference. And as a reminder, Guardian's payment processing is the only ACH that's fully integrated into your ISN, so that your inspection reports get released. You get notifications if a transaction doesn't clear. All of those things are actually integrated into ISN, and Guardian's ACH is the only option for that.
This last question here, I'm not sure if I understand, but the problem, sometimes you give a price to the agent. So you're quoting a price to the agent. Then when the client comes around, the client gets a discount. And then you've got a $75 charge on top of the discount that you gave to the client. I'm assuming is what that was for. Yeah, so with pay at close, you're going to get charged $75. Whether or not you're given a discount, and we get that if your normal price is $450 and then you're talking to the client like, all right, hey, I'll give you this discount, now you're $400. Now on top of that, you got a $75 fee. So the price increase should still handle that, right? If we know that 20% of your customers, 22% of your customers are going to do pay at close, a $14, $15 price increase, $13 price increase should cover it. So if you're charging that across the board on all your inspections, you've covered that $75 fee. That's not going to help on the discount. You still, if you gave a discount to the customer, that's a separate issue. But as far as that $75 fee, you can set how much you want to raise your price by. We have one guy who raises, he's got about a 23% adoption rate. He raised his price by $32 for the pay at close fee. So he's making an extra 15 bucks on every pay at close transaction just from the pay at close fee that he added. So you have control over that. You can charge however much you want on pay at close so that you feel comfortable that you've covered your costs or made revenue on the deal. That's totally fine.
And in a lot of markets, offering pay at close for free is like giving the customer a $75 to $150 discount, where other inspectors are charging that fee. So by telling an agent or a customer, hey, we offer pay at close for free, you're in essence doing the same thing as giving them a discount.
And maybe you don't have to give as many discounts now. Now when the agents or the customer's like, hey, what kind of discount can I get? You're getting pay at close for free. That's your discount, right? Joe, this guy over here is charging $100 for that same service, and I do it for free. So maybe you can eliminate some of those discounts because of that.
All right, so we're nearing the end of time. We have one last question to answer, and then we'll close with our contact information. Aaron or Ben, I'll let you answer this last question. It says, once you add PAC or pay at close, can it not be taken away? Is all of ISN changing to have the pay at close option for all invoices?
You have to enable it. So you have to choose to say, I want to have PAC as a payment option. Once you enable that, then yes, it will show up on every inspection that you've chosen to have it show up on. You get to choose in your settings of pay at close which inspection types you want to have it show up for. So if you say I want it on all my standard residential inspections, all my condo inspections, but I don't want it on my commercial inspections, I don't want it on my radon, I don't want it on my sewer scope, then when they choose those inspection types, the pay at close is going to show up. And as a side note, if you choose that you want it to show up on a standard residential inspection and not on sewer scope, if they do your residential inspection and add sewer scope to it, the sewer scope will still get included in the pay at close transaction. So any services that get lumped into that original inspection, those all go to closing. Hopefully that answered the question.
All right, so I think the last slide, we've got our contact information. So if you're ready to sign up, which we hope that you are, you can visit the website payitclose.smallbizguardian.com. You can give us a call, you can email us, or while we have this last slide up, there's a little QR code there that you can scan in with your phone and take you to the sign up sheet where you'll fill out a form, and the member of the Guardian team will reach out to you to help get you onboarded.
Yeah, and the onboarding process is really easy. So we'll just go into your ISN with you, and we'll go into the pay at close settings, and we'll walk you through it. We'll talk through, there's a calculator on there where you can see what your pay at close should be based on your inspection volume and stuff like that. We'll walk through the settings with you on which inspection types you probably want to have show up and which ones you don't. So we totally hold your hand through the whole thing and make it super easy. It's 10 minutes and start to finish, and you can have this turned on and offering it to your customers. So cool.
All right. Well, thanks so much to Joe and Matthew for joining us. It's so much appreciated. And just to recap, everybody that attended, you will get a recording of this after this is over if you need to reference anything. And we just thank you all for attending, and hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Matthew.
Bye, guys.
Thank
See ya.
you.